Good morning. We're going to be installing a third function valve kit on this 2015 Kubota L3301. It has the standard loader, the LA525 loader. The third function attachment is going to be installed in here. It's going to eventually operate a grapple that's going to be on the front of this tractor. Haven't done this before, so we're going to learn how to do this together. Okay, let's go over what we have here. Let's see. Obviously, you can see the hoses that they have. They're supplied with the quick connects on it. This is the actual solenoid system that is used to control the hydraulic fluid. 3 brackets. This is the control head that you're going to be replacing the knob on the top of your handle for your bucket. Miscellaneous parts, wiring, caps, you go over the open connections, and some adapters. Lots of tie wraps. So we're going to open these up, go through it, and start getting it attached to the tractor. We came with an instruction sheet inside the package. You can also find this online. That's what I used to make sure we had the right part when I went over to the Kubota tractor dealer and getting the parts. I actually had them on hand. It looks like they're a little dusty, so maybe they aren't as heavily used as I. Okay, so the first instructions call for us to remove these bolts here, and we'll remove them and prep for the additional bracketry that's going to go hold the third function kit on in this location. Okay, these turned out to be 17 millimeter. So obviously socket and a wrench does the job here. So here's the bracket. It's going to go in that spot, and you just need to pop out those bolts there, place this underneath, and bolt it back down. Okay, so you see the brackets in place now. There is enough thread hanging out of the back side to start these nuts to be engaged. They do have lock washers on the front side here, and that should hold it in place. Normally I put the lock washers on the back side, but this did not have that, and nor did it tell me to change it, so I'm not going to change it. I try to make sure that's nicely lined up here with the top. Get this wrench back on the back side, and just tighten them down. Okay, very good. Okay, so I've taken it out of the blister pack. It is the expensive part of this whole deal, I'm quite sure. The picture shows it being installed with the cable side going facing down, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to locate the hardware right now in the bag of tricks that they gave us. Here is the bag of parts. I'm going to go look through that for the bolts to go on to this. Something to note here, if you look closely, this port is labeled P, T, B, A. These are listed in the instructions as to which connections go on what. So that's important that you kind of realize that these are labeled pretty well. The ones that actually fit in here are the ones with the Allen wrench. So I'm going to install this now. And I had a 50-50 chance as to way to install it, and of course I put it in upside down. So I'm going to turn this around and do it the correct way now. Alright, I'll give them a little tighten up. Okay, so a little bit of a setback here. These Allen head type bolts here, I don't have the size for it. I don't have the metric or the standard English sizes for it. I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know what it is. I do have them tightened down. Found a way to do that a little bit. And now I guess the instructions don't have you actually install any of this with any kind of instructions. So I think it was initially intended that these fittings would be installed onto this unit when you received it, but of course that is not the way it came out of this kit. So I'm looking at the picture and trying to get this installed in the best way I can, and we'll see how that goes. These tightened it down. It took a 7/8 wrench here to do that. I'm about to put these on, but I need to put the caps on. These units, that's this one, and this go on there, and this goes on the top. This is for our quick disconnect. They very much look like, maybe that's in your view, yeah, you can barely see them. The ones that are up in this location, they'll look like that when I'm done. So I did find the other one of these, and I do have a wrench for it. Let me tighten this one up first. This is a 1 1/16 wrench. Don't think I need to tighten them down too much. I do have rubberized seals here. Do the heavy lifting of sealing. I do want to get them down a little bit more. Feels good. Do the same on the other one. Okay, feels good. Okay, what we have here are the hoses that connect to the bottom of this unit. You'll see they look like this is what goes into the distribution box below the step. And these here, they're covered with plastic now to keep the dirt out of it, will be connected into the base of this unit here. Examining this picture located here, these are the two hoses I'm about to attach. You'll see the way it's oriented here. Here's the two top pieces. Here's our two top pieces. Here's our bottom. And if you see closely here, hopefully this is focusing, the back side has the one with the elbow on the bottom, and this one comes through and is a straight connection. So we're going to hook them up as shown. We're going to use these two adapters that came with the kit. Install these first on the base and then hook those hoses up to that unit. Okay, I'm going to take this down so you can see where I've connected them. And this is an 11/16 wrench I'm using here to tighten it. Once again, I don't need to really bear down on this. It has a seal on it. I'm just going to tighten it up, get it snug, and a little bit more than that so it doesn't vibrate loose. So those are the two connections I have there. Okay, here's the front one. I'm going to connect the back one first, but if you notice, smaller size, larger size, this goes down to the distribution box. Yeah. This one goes over to the connections. So I've decided to go and attach the front bracketry next because I can hook the hoses up to it. So looking at the instructions, they have two different variations of bracket you can use. One looks like this to hook the hoses into. And the other one looks like this. I mounted these connectors on it already as I was trying to match it to the picture. Now I have an L3301 2015 model. According to the instructions, hard to believe it, but I'm actually reading them. Crossbeam mount for the L3301, refer to figure 4, which is this detail picture up here. And then figure 5, which is this picture here. Looking at it, they use the U-bolt version of this connection. I think they want to get those connections pushed over close to the side rail, not on the center of this tube. And that's why they use that rather than let's see here. There we go. Rather than the one down here. So I'm going to connect that up to the system now temporarily. First I'm going to tighten all tighten all these connections here, since I do have the unit out. I can do that easily. And then I'll put on the connections on this side and ready for a connection on the hoses. So I can do all this and then put the U-bolt on it. Much easier to do. These here turn out to be 1-inch connections, so they can tighten them down with some relatively large wrenches. So now you can see I've installed the two quick release units. I'm snugging them down until they seat all the way down, and that's about as far as they go. This is still the same 1 1/16 socket, wrench, and tighten that down and we're ready to go. That can be, I'm going to mount that up now in place, and I may actually attach the hoses to it first to get it in place and then mount it up. Okay, so I'm going to install these little boots onto the hoses. You want to do this before you actually hook them up into the system, because they need to go over this end. So I basically push this over the end. I'm going to bring that up over to where they go at the other end, and then I'm going to hook that into the system. Like it goes over there, bring it along. So, and it goes at this end here to cover this up, like that, to keep the dirt out of it. I'm going to attach it into the system right now and bring this camera up to that side. Alright, let's get this centered up. And these are release. So I basically pull that back, attach it onto the system. So they say, there we go, snap, and they're ready to go. So now I have the two hoses in place. I may get some tape, mark one of these with a certain color, match at the other end so I can make sure I have them in the right position. As you notice right now, I have marked both ends with a red tag. And let me look at my instruction sheet. Once again, hard to believe. But if you look at the instruction sheet here, it shows this outside edge goes to the, this outside here stays on the outside and goes to that side of the connector. So I'm going to do that now. I'll leave the other one to the far side. Okay, you can kind of see what I've been doing here. I've been looking at the picture and the instructions and trying to mount it in a similar position. Basically trying to get it in line with the arm that goes down. Once again, I can pretty easily tighten these up from this position just to have a little bit of a socket. Depot socket here. I'm going to loosen up a little bit. Maybe I can get it a little more in line. There we go. That's what I see in the picture. Trying to making it a little bit away from this edge here. Don't want it chafing against the arm of the loader. That's pretty solid in there. Once again, probably one of those things you gotta check the tightness of once in a while. Tractors do vibrate a lot, so I think that's basically in a similar position that we see in this picture. This picture right here. You can see this location here, how it's along that edge. I can attach the hoses now and get them routed. Okay, got one of the hoses connected up here. See the red went on the outside, so I'm going to tighten that one up while it's easy to tighten it. And then get the second one in there. This one here. These hoses kind of make it a little more difficult. I'm trying to get them where they don't chafe against each other. And I may have to cover that. So where it's clipped, this outside band, I may want to cover that with some plastic tape. I want to cut into that hose. Or just get a tie wrap maybe or something in here. See how that does. Moving up and down, they have to move, so I'll have to keep my eye on that, see how these are moving, not getting caught up with each other. So as part of my final install, I did go out and buy some boots to fit on this. That stay on here that I can cover these up when the grapple's not on. And I have the reverse fitting here to fit into the grapple hoses to keep dirt out of them when I'm not using the grapple. So these I was able to find online. They're not that expensive. I would definitely recommend them. Basically keep your oil clean and keep all your fittings clean, and definitely was worthwhile. I'm surprised they didn't come with it in the kit, at least the red ones, and the grapple didn't come with the plugs either, the dust caps when I bought it, but they're not that expensive, not that hard to get. The next part of it is installing the knob. A replacement knob that has the, this is in the bag still. There's a knob in there. We're going to replace this knob right up here. I need to remove this knob and install this knob now. Basically tighten this down with the Allen wrench. One that I actually found that fit this time. And then tighten the nuts down. That stops it from backing out. And I have mine buttons kind of at an angle up here, so I can put my fingers along this side and control movement this way without interfering with the buttons, and then using my thumb I can easily push these buttons when I have the loader in action. Actually, this would be with the not the loader, but the grapple. Can't wait, I got so much debris around my place. Now I'll tighten those down and then we'll be ready to go. And I have to route this down through this boot, down into the wiring system. Very, very long shielded cable, shielded by the means of this jacket on the outside of it. It is way too long. Two wires need to go, red wires need to go to the battery, and the black wire needs to go, the two black wires need to go to this circuit right here, this little short cable right here. So what I'm going to do is use the jacket and pull it through, splice it, and pull it back through the jacket and then run the jacketed side up to the battery. So there's really no instructions here how to do this. So what I did is I attached a string to the red wire, one of the red wires, pulled it through. I cut the sleeving so I could get at all the wires, pulled them through. Here's the red wire I attached with the string. I pulled the black wires, red and black wires apart. So now I have two separate wires here, which go to the control valve. These red wires will eventually go to the battery. So what I'm going to do next is attach the end of the second red wire to this end here and pull it back through. So I have two red wires in the sleeving, which I'll then snake through the engine compartment up through into the battery area. I'm going to cut it off temporarily. Here's the two black wires coming out. They're going to go to the solenoid. The two red wires run down, sneak into the engine bay, trying to keep them away from the brake wires, and come up here, come across behind this support here. I've tie wrapped it up here, and I've gone through this little foam block here coming out, and here's my red wires. I'll have to extend them to the battery, but at least they are in the general area. You can see I have covered up the frayed end of the jacketing. I've come over here and I have spliced this with a solder splice. There we go, maybe. And now I'm going to cover this with some spiral wrap and bring it down to the battery area. Here I've connected it into the battery by the lug not supplied by them. I had to go get a lug and get it connected in. Here's the fuse holder. I decided to put some connectors in so I could disconnect it pretty easily if I wanted to. This is 24 gauge wire I used as an extension. I have some spiral wrap, and you can see the spiral wrap goes around, back through the hole there. Okay, on this side, I have the wire from the solenoid here. I decided to put some connections on it. So if I wanted to reverse the buttons to get them to be more like what makes sense to me, like with the grappler. For example, one of the buttons being a down button and the top button being the raise it up button. I could switch these around if they happen to be in the wrong orientation. And I've tie wrapped that up. I routed it out away from the brake system and through the engine bay. And that's about wraps up what I can do. I'm going to get a trailer and bring it over to my local Kubota dealer and have them hook the last two hoses up. That's what's recommended actually in the instruction manual, because if you hook them up incorrectly, you can do a lot of damage to your tractor and pumping system. So it's probably easier for me to have them do that in a few minutes than for me do it and spend a lot of extra money repairing what I've just done. Okay, you see I have two female connections on the tractor, and it's going to match up to the two male connections that came with my kit to add the third function onto this tractor. So I'm going to get that more installed now and try to pick this thing up and get it attached to my tractor. Okay, so of course I had a 50-50 chance which way to hook the hoses up, and there's a certain way I wanted them, the top button being to raise it and the bottom button on the attachment, the lamprey third function. Tried to switch it back around, a little oil got leaking out as you would expect when you take off the hydraulic connectors. Make sure you're not under pressure when you try to do this. And let me give you a function of the show how fast this opens and closes with the lamprey attachment for the 3301 tractor with the LA525 loader on it. So I'm going to move this over here and see if you can see me pushing the buttons here when I do it. Here's my attachment. This lowers the grapple. This raises the grapple. Alright, so I think we're ready to go. We're at a little over 1,000 RPM. I'm going to raise it a little higher when I start doing it so that it might open a little and close it faster. There's no, let me try to push the button a little bit. Yeah, you can see you don't control the speed very much. But you can precisely control how much open and close it gets. I'm anxious to put this to work.